Is it time to leave the Garden State? This is a topic that comes up probably most frequently of all the commentary I receive that has a consistent theme on all the episodes that I put out there. I want to say this is, in fact, the most frequent. And this is coming straight from viewers just like you. So many viewers have either a nostalgic accounting for what they remember about New Jersey, and many of you all know what I'm talking about because you no longer live here, but you're remembering the days of when you grew up here. Those who are currently here, you are more often than not reflecting on, yes, how you love certain locations that you're in and certain conveniences, but many others are expressing just the challenges and the grind that comes along with being in one of the most expensive places to live in the United States. So in this episode, we are going to dive into that topic. Is it time to leave? We're going to project on some of the things that are coming right down the road, maybe just beyond the horizon, maybe even closer than that, as we look at some of the economic forecasts that are taking place in our country right now. We are mid-March. We have pending tariffs that have been delayed but are still coming. We still have certain specific crises when it comes to eggs, for example. We still have, to a degree, supply chain issues that have not been fully resolved since the days of COVID. So with all of these factors and combining that with being in one of the more expensive places to live in the country, this is definitely front of mind when it comes to a lot of people currently living here. So let's dive into that topic now, and I'm going to share some details. Some may surprise you, some maybe not so much. Let's dive in now. Welcome to New Jersey Living. My name is Corey Jones, and I'm a licensed real estate agent here in New Jersey with Coldwell Banker, team leader of the New Jersey Living Group, and host of New Jersey Living, the podcast. As we dive into the topic of, is it time to leave the state of New Jersey, we're going to first consider what are those reasons why people are here in New Jersey. New Jersey has a lot of absolutely fabulous things to offer. So I'm going to jump into a few of those first before we jump into some of those challenges. If you already live here, you know some of the reasons why you love the Garden State or why you live in the Garden State. Those who grew up here, born and bred, raised in New Jersey, this is home to you and is a place of attachment because your family is here, your memories are here, your life is simply built here. But we're going to more so look at the people who have moved in, like myself, have moved into New Jersey at some point in time. They have come more often than not because of employment opportunity. So once you're here and you start to experience, all right, I'm close to New York City, I can take in cultural events, educational events, sporting, some of the highest performing and most renowned institutions of education are right here. Medical, when it comes to hospitals and technology development, like all these things are right here, New York City and the surrounding suburbs as we get into New Jersey as well. So that is in itself one of the major reasons that New Jersey is a draw. Another reason, if you're here in New Jersey, you have such easy access to get to the beach. Most people who live in New Jersey are only maybe an hour to an hour and a half most from a shore location, a beach location. Most of us, likewise, are only about an hour to an hour and a half of being out towards the mountains as we get into the Appalachians and trails and even some ski locations, even in New Jersey, believe it or not, in Pennsylvania. So there's a lot to offer when it comes to nature, mountains and trails and beach life and city life and entertainment, and then being in comfortable suburbs that have among the best public schools in the country, right? So these are things that make New Jersey a real draw along with its people. So it's a very diverse population. So that is both in terms of nationalities and languages, and also when it comes to the socioeconomic demographics. You have people who are the wealthiest of the wealthy. Some are superstars in the film and TV industry, and others who are musicians, and there's that. And then there are your middle class to those working class levels of people. But that's where we pivot to why New Jersey is becoming very challenging and why we see somewhat of an exodus. So as we stay into that topic of those who are more in the middle and working class, I think an argument can legitimately be made that New Jersey is a location that once upon a time there was a lot of space and opportunity for those who were more of that working class. And now that is being squeezed out in terms of just flat out affordability. So we're going to take a look at a few factors right now into what is contributing to what is becoming a continuing trend of exodus from the state. So how are we really accounting for the metric that shows the disproportionate outbound migration of New Jersey residents? And I'm sure there's multiple metric points that can point to this. We're going to refer to the article. We're going to go up right here. This is a New Jersey Business Magazine article published January 3rd of this year. And it is basically referencing the companies or institutions that would have a lot of insight on people's moving activity. Doesn't account for everything, of course, but it does give us a really, really solid indicator. So we have 3 sources in this article. As you can see, more people leaving New Jersey than entering, according to 2 new moving reports. One is in reference to North American Van Lines. Another is U-Haul. There is a third one as well as we get towards the bottom of the article, and that's going to be United Van Lines as well. So all of them are giving some statistical data points pointing to what is trending in New Jersey. So as we come back towards the top, we can see that it's showing that New Jersey is 48th. It's the 48th growth state. So we are at the very bottom, not absolute. We're not 50th or what have you, but we are at the near bottom when it comes to growth. So what it shows right here is that for U-Haul's data point was that in terms of one-way traffic of people renting U-Hauls to go one direction, 48% were out of state, were inbound, I'm sorry. So U-Haul customers coming to New Jersey, 48%. U-Haul, again, this is one-way traffic going out of state, was at 51%. So that doesn't seem too significant. It's relatively close, 48%, 51%, but hold on. All right, so now let's take a look at what the data point that we are getting specific to North American Van Lines. And we have to go down towards the bottom here. So North American and Van Lines, with their reports, they found that New Jersey experienced a 48% population inbound versus a 56% outbound. So again, this is North American Van Lines. This is one of the larger, more well-known and notable moving companies, saying 56% was moving out. Right? So that's a 56 out, 46 in. And then there is United Van Lines. Again, another one of these moving companies that they show that with the state having 67% outbound migration. So these are different data points. They're not all exactly the same. And we know, of course, some people are not going to hire a moving company. They're not using U-Haul or one of these other companies, but all 3 are showing the same thing of the business that they are getting from people who are in the process of moving. There's far more moving out than are moving in. So we're going to go through the top 5 reasons of why do we see this ongoing trend for New Jersey? Because again, one of the data points here was pointing to this is the 7th year in a row, the 7th consecutive year where we're finding more outbound than inbound for the Garden State. So we're going to dive in now to those top 5 reasons why people are leaving. And towards the end, we're going to point out specific locations that the opposite is happening. Some of you all may already see this in certain areas in the state, but there are areas that are having an increase in population, not people leaving, but more of the coming in. So stick around for that. So reason number 5, employment opportunities. Now, this is a state that has a lot of different employment options. We're not reliant on one given industry. This is not Detroit where we're reliant on, the car industry, for example. We're not in some other areas of the country where there may be one company or one given industry that takes up the vast majority of employment options. So it's a lot of variation that is here. But the reality is that a lot of jobs that are traditionally some of those maybe small business or maybe someone who doesn't necessarily have whether it be a college degree or a specific specific technical skill, there's not many jobs that are paying that well that you could afford to live still in this area. So when you think of, and some of you all have already commented on this in my comments, but many areas of the country, if you have a job that is going to pay you, let's say, $55,000 a year. There are many areas of the country where that $55,000 a year will do you perfectly fine, right? You can have affordable place to live. You can have things that you want to do for enjoyment in life. In New Jersey, a $55,000, just for one individual, that is very, very challenging. All right. So when people are talking employment opportunities, don't think necessarily that I cannot find work somewhere, because there is a lot of opportunity in terms of work availability. It's a matter of what will that job pay relative to the cost of living. So individuals who are looking for employment opportunities often are looking, if I can do the same thing in another state, I may not make the same money, because that is the case in many instances, that you're not going to make the same rate of pay, but will the cost of living be lower relative to that pay? So that's one thing that is definitely showing up on the top 5 in 5th place. Let's go on to number 4. Number 4 is something, again, I hear a lot in my comments: retirement. So once you retire in New Jersey, you retire. Many people do have that mortgage paid off. Property taxes, however, they don't go away, and they tend to continue to increase over time. So New Jersey being a place to retire is not at all ideal. Many people, they want warmer weather and they want a better cost of living. Going back to number 5, a better cost of living scenario. So when we talk about our retirement community, people are looking for warmer weather. They're looking for lower taxes. They're looking for less traffic, right? They're looking for less dense population. So that translates to a lot of areas that are further south. A lot of it is mid-Atlantic, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. The Carolinas have been very popular lately of a lot of my clients who have been leaving. Florida, not so much with how things have going real estate wise in Florida, but Georgia is another, right? So some will consider going out west, even like in Arizona, which you're not going to have to worry about the weather kind of situation in terms of having warm weather. So retirement comes in at number 4. Number 3, and this is one that you've heard quite frequently if you've been following my episodes, it is housing affordability. Right here, we have a median, and this is coming off of August 2023. I'm careful with data points because it depends on where you get your data from. But this particular data point from 2023 had the median home in New Jersey at $514,800, which is pretty on par with where we are now. Even if you look at my episode on New Jersey versus California, you'll see clearly that we are far lower than the highest, median home value state in the country. We're half that pretty much of California, but we're still relatively high. So the housing affordability is an issue. So recently, if you viewed my episode of where you can find housing, single family homes, $450,000 or less, and many of those were South Jersey for the most part, they're all South Jersey. But questions came up in that commentary that 450 is just really heavy for even some people when they're looking at what their budget is, and they need to be more like a low 300. They need to be more like a mid 300, right? So even at 450, which is a modest house price in New Jersey, is out of reach for many people in the population. So the housing affordability factor is absolutely a reason that drives some people to even skip over New Jersey and consider Pennsylvania. Some people coming from New York, you may be someone in this category. If you're someone who's happen to watch this episode right now about New Jersey, you left New York, you wanted better cost of living, you want better housing options, you went with Pennsylvania. You may have to drive an hour and a half, right, to get in and out of the city if you're still driving, but you found a lot more for your money, and your property taxes are nowhere near what they are in New Jersey. So housing affordability, definitely one of the preeminent factors as to why people leave the Garden State. And that segues perfectly into number 2. And this one could definitely take the place of number 1. Before we even jump into it, though, let me make sure I throw out there a couple resources for you. If you are someone looking to buy right now, if you are in the buying process, if you are considering New Jersey, I have this QR code for you. Gives you insights on the buying process, what that looks like, and my team definitely can assist. Note as well for you all in general, if you're wondering if you ever reach out to me, you're not going to hear from my team or someone else who's not a voice just like mine. You hear from me, you work with me if you come through YouTube. If you are someone who's coming in just relocating, regionally or internationally, we have a QR code for you. Gives you some insights on the Garden State, just give you more familiarity with what happens or what the layout of the state looks like. And then for homeowners, even if you're not looking to sell right now, you just want to know your value, or you may be what I call cash curious, like to know what an investor would offer for your property today. I have QR codes for each of those. So first QR code, get a CMA, complimentary, has no obligation whatsoever. Just know your value, whether you're looking to sell now or 20 years from now. And for those who are just curious again, what would an investor offer me right now? Or maybe I'm at a place I really need to consider moving off of this property, maybe something I inherited even, that I just don't want the hassle of going through market process. I just want something that's convenient, easy, get it out the way. QR code for you as well. So let's go into number two. Number two is property taxes. And like I said, it could definitely vie for the number one spot on this list as to why people leave. All right, so property taxes in the Garden State rank pretty much highest in the nation. We've been holding that title for some time, it seems. Every election cycle, we tend to hear some type of campaigning on that topic. We're in the midst of New Jersey right now. We're going to have a gubernatorial race that is going to be well underway right now. We're already seeing the ads, but we'll have that come this fall. We're going to no doubt hear more talk and conversation on that. The property tax is something that is real, and it is something that drives people to consider, I have to find somewhere else other than New Jersey, right? For basically to be able to comfortably live. Because when I think about my family members who are in other states and they have a third of what I pay, and in most cases, a larger house, right? And they pay a third of the property taxes, or maybe half the property taxes that I pay on my property. So, there's a lot of the whys that go into that. We're a state of 600 some municipalities. There's sometimes shared resources between municipalities with schools and maybe police and fire. But there's a lot of things that go into that, why we have such high property taxes. A day for probably more of a podcast than a YouTube episode, but we'll definitely be revisiting that at some point in time. And now we get to number one. And number one really is kind of an umbrella. In certain ways, I guess you could make an argument that this kind of just encapsulates everything, but it's cost of living. The cost of living, when you factor in, is not just property taxes, however. When you factor in property taxes, we already talked about housing costs, certain things like car insurance, right? So I remember moving to New Jersey from Virginia, and I remember not only did the amount that I paid, I was renting at the time, so the amount that I paid in rent doubled. What was also doubled was my my car insurance. Right? So car insurance certainly doubled. There are some things that are reasonable. So our gas prices are certainly reasonable. It's not like we have sky high taxes for gasoline. And I would say relatively, until recent, I say before COVID, I would say grocery wise was relatively on par. And I say on par, meaning not super high. What we've experienced, and I can't speak for other states, but since COVID and now with the egg crisis that we have right now, yes, it is absolutely a noticeably different grocery bill here in the Garden State, what we saw maybe just a few years back. So these are all those factors that are driving many people to leave. Now, I mentioned a little earlier that there are locations, and I'm gonna run through those right now, where there have been an increase or an influx of population, and I find this very interesting. So here are some of the notable growth markets in the state of New Jersey. We have Bridgeton, we have Bridgewater, Cherry Hill, Franklin Township, Glassboro, Jackson Township, Jersey City, Lakewood, Mount Laurel, Ocean Grove, which is part of Neptune, Vineland, Wildwood, Williamstown. So these are locations, and not all of them are North Jersey. Like if you know New Jersey, there are some that are shore, and there are some like Vineland is that's South Jersey, very much deep South Jersey. Okay, and then it gave a few break-even markets: Bayonne, Bloomfield, Hamilton. Bayonne and Bloomfield are always going to be really steady. You have populations that are aging out in both of those locations, but you have a lot that is a lot of influx, a lot still moving in. Hamilton, which is right outside of Trenton, Yes, you do have some that are, again, aging out, moving out, but Hamilton presents a very viable option for less expensive housing and still not too far from a metropolitan area in terms of Philadelphia. I wouldn't include Trenton in that per se. But if you're looking for single family housing in that general Trenton area, a lot of attention is going to go to Hamilton. So these are reflecting that it's not everywhere in the state, it's not every location, but there are some locations are experiencing more of the opposite of the general trend. So this leaves a question for you. What about you? What about your situation? Are you someone who is still considering coming to the Garden State? Are you someone who is here and considering leaving? I've been here myself for 25 years. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. There's so much the Garden State has to offer, as in my lead in, our proximity to different areas, our just general diversity. There's so much small business here, and that's the factor that we're really going to pay close attention to, how this tariff situation is going to have impact not only on housing but a lot of small business, right? So we have an area of New Jersey. If you ever driven through Jersey, and likewise I say if you've ever been in New York City, driven through Long Island, unlike areas outside of this region where you see mostly chains and different franchises everywhere you go, you see that here in this area as well, but there are a ton of these small mom and pop and different types of businesses, from food to tailors to jewelry. I mean, anything that you can think of is going to be here in terms of these small business that adds to the richness and diversity of this area of the country, which quite frankly, I love it. So there's certain things that definitely will keep me here, but there are certain pressure points that are going to tell the story of how the real estate market is going to do in New Jersey for the coming year, and the tariffs are going to be a big part of that. When it comes to renovation costs, how many people are going to get into flipping? With construction costs, everywhere you go in New Jersey right now, you know this if you live anywhere near a train station, you have these luxury apartment buildings that are coming up. You have definitely major developments that are underway right now and that are soon to start to develop on the horizon. So we referenced in some episodes about the Kushners, what they've done already in Journal Square, what they're doing now in Monmouth. We have development still coming on par with the Bayfront project in Jersey City. So we have Netflix, of course, in Monmouth. So what are going to be the implications of these tariffs on these construction costs, and how that's going to filter down to those who are renting and buying real estate in the near future? How's it also impacting small business that has supplies and all of these other things that they often have imported from other countries in order to survive in the market? So we're going to be monitoring that moving forward, having additional insights and information on the market. But again, this is something that presents a challenge not to New Jersey, but to other areas of the country. But we're already at a high cost of living now. How does that translate moving forward is the big question. So I want to thank you for tuning in once again. We have more of this content that is coming your way. Definitely drop in some content here if you like what you've heard, if it intrigues you, if you want to, again, be a part of that conversation, leave a few comments here, click like, subscribe, and notification bell. We want to make sure we get the word of New Jersey Living out for many others to watch and to enjoy and consume. So in the meantime, stay safe and stay tuned to New Jersey Living.